Welcome aboard the Athletics Can't Wait Jets podcast, your nonstop shop for all things Jets. Now here are your hosts, Tim McMaster and Conor Hughes. Listen safely.
Can't wait.
Defense came into the game as the worst passing defense in the NFL. What were they able to do, though, to kind of give you guys so many issues throughout the game?
I don't know. I'll know better when we look at the tape. But just from how I felt, I felt like, I need to do a better job of getting the ball out of my hands. And if something's not there, finding my check down. Yeah, it sucks, So, again, we just got to watch the tape and get better and see what we can do, to continue to improve. We got to be better. Losing is not fun, so we just got to be better. And like I say during the week, we just got to find a way to continue to improve and get better and do all the things that we need to do to try to win a game.
That was the essence of Sam Darnold's post-game comments after Sunday's loss to the Seattle Seahawks. It was a lot longer than that. We crunched it down under a minute, but if you listen to the whole thing, it was just more of the same. The Jets have now set a franchise record. Their unlucky 13th straight loss, the most lopsided loss of the Adam Gase era. There's only 3 games left in this miserable season. Tim McMaster here along with Conor Hughes and Marissa Morris. Please subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcast. Give us a 5-star rating and review. Consider that your Christmas present for us or your holiday gift to us, to give us a 5-star review and say something nice about the show. If you're,
you can also send money. I got a way to pay for.
Sure. It's been a tough year, Conor. So I was trying to let people off easy, just say something nice. But no, you can also send us Benjamins, whatever. Anyway,
we'll put our Venmos up. We'll put our Venmos up on the. We'll all hold them up like this. Is what we'll do.
Yeah,
we'll
at the end of the show, instead of Twitter, we can start leaving our Venmos.
Who would get the most? I think I would.
That's
yeah.
I think that's safe.
You've got your little fan base in this comment. So we talk about it because it's occasionally like we go on this like block spree because people are just absolute morons in the comments. And the vast majority, I shouldn't say this, the vast majority of the people.
Yeah, I was gonna say our comment section is fantastic.
No, it's great. It's like what I mean is like occasionally there's like the one asshole that like penetrates it and like you suddenly start to see like just the off color remarks. And it's like no one's got to deal with that. But what I do love about the comment section is that whenever that one like a-hole appears and comes out of nowhere, the Marissa army that lives within the comment section, like all those like OG day one loyal listeners that we have, someone says one bad thing about Marissa and they are just like, it's like a just a gang that comes together and attacks them. She doesn't do nothing. She's the producer, you ass. Like, oh, it's amazing. I love it. It's so fun. Like it's one of the first, like obviously like before I block like the person, because I go through and like I'm monitoring the comment section now and like whenever I see it, I'll make a note like, okay, that user's getting blocked, that user's gone, like that user's getting out of here. As soon as I see it, all though, is like I'll go like, all right, I want to see what the people say in response to it. And there's always the Marissa army. There's no Conor or Tim army. There's just a Marissa army.
Sounds like a hashtag Marissa army. Hashtag Marissa army.
We might get that going. We might get that. We might as well. There's nothing else to do.
All right, let's get exactly. Let's get into the game, and we'll start where the show started there with that audio that you heard, Sam Darnold after the game. So let's start by talking about Sam Darnold. We're not going to talk about Sam Darnold's future with the Jets or anything like that. We've certainly moved on since about that overall, but we are going to talk about just how sad it is now to watch it, because the numbers, Conor, 14 of 26, 132, no touchdowns, no interceptions, but there very easily could have been multiple interceptions, including when he hit Adams directly in the chest early in this game. Yeah. We've gone from the point where we wanted to see Sam Darnold progress through the season to we wanted to see him keep his trade value up through the season to now I don't even know what to say about the way he's playing. And the post-game sound is just so sad to listen to him because he seems lost.
It's that's it, man. And I think what's the most demoralizing thing about the Sam Darnold regression is that like I go back to his rookie year, and I talked about this a little bit last night on CBS, and I've written it a little bit too in our story on The Athletic, and it's but it does bear repeating because like Sam's rookie year, obviously it started with that massive boom game against the Lions, where oh man, he's saying like that was fun to his parents as he's exiting the locker room, gets the first win, everyone's feeling good. Jamal Adams is posting about how it's a new day and age for Jets football, yada yada, blah blah blah. But he went through that like slump that you expected from a rookie quarterback where he wasn't looking very good. Then he got hurt with the foot. He's throwing interceptions. He's not really accurate. There were good throws, bad throws, but it wasn't really good. But the final 4 games of that season, when he was playing the Bills, and then it was the Packers and the Vikings, and then the end of the season with a poor game against the Patriots, but everyone always has a poor game against the Patriots. But during that chunk, during that stretch of games, and I know Sam only won 1. He only went 1-3 in that stretch, but he really seemed to show what the next 12 to 15 years were really going to look like here. It was the 6 touchdowns and 1 interception. It was the completion percentage well over 60. It was the quarterback rating of 99.1. It was taking an offense that was led by receivers in Andre Roberts and Jermaine Kearse and Deontay Burnett. Remember him? And a rookie Chris Herndon, and elevating their play to the point where not just the Jets within their organizations, but those are within their organization, but those around the league were like, you know what? Holy cow, the Jets got their guy. Holy cow, the Jets have a franchise quarterback. It's finally happened. The Joe Namath curse is over. The Jets have a guy, and now over the next 3 years, they're going to surround him with talent. And in 2 or 3 years, the Jets are going to be contenders in the AFC. They're going to be Super Bowl contenders. Eventually, he's going to be the guy that snaps his 50-year Super Bowl drought and puts it on the finger. To think about that quarterback, even just a play, that magical touchdown that he threw against the Bills to Robbie Anderson in the back of the end zone, where he's right, he's left, he's right again, and then somehow he slings it and finds a sliding Robbie Anderson for the touchdown. To think that that player has devolved to the guy that we saw on Sunday, under 200 passing yards for the 7th time in 9 games, touchdownless for the 5th time in 9 games, a quarterback rating under 76 for the 7th time in 9 games. Like, that's just sad, man. And then you listen to him talk after the game. And the one thing that you always had with Sam, in the face of all the turmoil, in the face of all the negativity, in the face of all of the struggles and the terrible play around him, from him, bad coaching, bad management, all that, you always had the look forward optimism that next week will be better. And we've said this before about the Jets, but next week will be better. We'll get it. It's fine. We just need to correct this. We need to correct that. When I asked him yesterday, and you heard the bite to open the show, why weren't you able to do more against 132 passing yards against the worst passing defense in the NFL that's averaging a clip of 308 a game? How did you not do more? And I don't know. I have to do better, but I don't know. And it's just to see that guy on the podium, or on the other end of a Zoom call, I should say, and listen to him and his tone and just the eyes going up. I mean, that's not Sam. That's not the Sam we saw rookie year. That's not the Sam we saw sophomore year. That's not the Sam we saw when he had mono. That's a broken, beat down, demoralized, unconfident quarterback. That's just very, I said this before. It's like it's finally set in that there is an expiration date on his Jet career, and there is absolutely nothing he can do to extend it. That at the end of this season, he's going to go play for a new team. He's not this team's franchise quarterback. He's going to be kind of holding that reputation as he is the next in a long line of USC quarterbacks to fail in the NFL. And like you said, it's just sad, man, because it always feels like it didn't have to be this way. But also at the same time, you can't blame the surrounding cast anymore. You can't blame the coaching all of the time anymore. A lot of this is Sam as well. Like, this isn't Sam running around trying to make plays and no one's helping him. This is Sam playing poorly. This is a guy that looks like a bad quarterback. This isn't, man, if you just get him more weapons, man, if they had a better offensive line, man, if they had better coaching. All of that can be said and all that can be true, but Sam looks bad. He looks terrible. Like, he's under 60% completion percentage in a game. Again, 132 passing yards. Like, Tyreek Hill had 200 receiving yards in the first quarter a couple weeks ago, and Sam's got 132 in a game against the worst passing defense in the NFL. He's inaccurate. I know he didn't turn it over, but he could have had 3 interceptions. It's just, I don't know what's happened, and it's sad to see what's happened. And you'll blame some on Gase, blame some on Mike McCagnon, blame some on Joe Douglas. All of those guys deserve some blame, but at the same time, it does fall on Sam. And it's just, I don't know, the fact that quarterback we saw the final 4 games of his rookie season is the same quarterback we saw in the field against the Seahawks 3 years later. It's upsetting. It's upsetting.
And it brings us to another point, which is there's 3 games left in the season. If you look at the videotape from 2020 and just had that and didn't have USC career, didn't have those final games of the 2018 season, didn't have flashes last year, you're not going to be able to get anything for this guy in a trade. You're not going to get a 7th rounder. Luckily, that at least there is that past stuff and there are executives around the NFL that I'm sure back 3 years ago were on board that this guy was the best quarterback available in that draft, and they would love to have him. And you hope that stuff is lingering in the back of somebody's mind, that they're willing to give up something to get this guy when the Jets go to trade him after the season. But the question is, with 3 games left in the season, is there value in continuing to send him out there in hopes that he has like one great game and people are like, oh, see, he can still do it? Or should they almost just shut him down so it doesn't get any worse?
Well, I've like Brian Costello is the one who's made this. He's not wrong. Like if this season was all about winning and the Jets were actually trying to win games right now, then Joe Flacco is your quarterback. Like Joe Flacco gives the Jets a better chance to win, which is ridiculous that I'm saying that. And I'm not saying that tongue in cheek. I'm not saying that as a joke. And I'm not saying that as a slight at Sam Darnold, but Joe Flacco gives his team a better chance to win. You saw it against the Patriots. You saw it when he's played today this season after he kind of got through a couple of the rust knockoff games coming back from that offseason neck surgery. Once he kind of got his rhythm, Joe Flacco is a better quarterback right now. But I don't think you can bench him. But at the same time, he's not helping his trade value at all. I mean,
there's going to be a lot of quarterbacks available this offseason, which
doesn't help.
It's like
crazy.
Who are you trading for? Carson Wentz. I mean, Carson Wentz has like a lot of money attached to him, but I don't know. Matt Stafford.
Maybe we can bring on. We could debate like the whole Carson Wentz thing. We should bring on like one of the Eagles guys to this podcast. I'm trying to think who the best one would be. Probably Shield would probably be a really good one to bring on to talk to.
No, they've discussed it.
Would be a good one, and that's
Darnold,
probably the only
if you're trading for Darnold, you're not trading for a starting court. Like he's going to compete. If you're trading for Carson Wentz, you think he's going to be.
Marissa was so focused on that point that she missed the birds with friends shade.
Yeah, I just ignored you.
You missed my ultimate boast.
Connor, at this stage of the game, I know to just, keep powering through it. Okay, you can continue.
That's fine. When you edit this back, you'll hear this bow slide and you'll be like, God damn, Conor, that was good. You'll be like, oh, I don't want to give that guy credit, but damn, that was a good one. That's gonna be one you clip all Bo's shots at me from the pod and send it in. You're gonna clip this one to send to Bo.
I do clip yours too and send it.
Marissa feeds the rivalry. That's the funny. Like everyone thinks she's throwing gasoline on the fire. I think it probably would have simmered down, and every time it does, Marissa's like, let's throw this. Oh, I know. I'll mention Carson Wentz on the Jets podcast. That'll get Conor going. It's all part of her evil plan.
No, I just think it's interesting because they've talked about Sam Darnold, and it's going to be an interesting quarterback offseason. So
you did mention that because like when we first started talking about the concept that Trevor Lawrence was an option for the Jets, like back when it became it was a joking like, oh, maybe they'll draft Trevor Lawrence. It was like a little bit of a joke until the Jets lost to the Broncos. When they lost to Ripon on Monday night or on Thursday night at home, that's when it suddenly became like, holy cow, is this team going to win a game? And even if they do win a game, are they winning more than 2, which means they're in contention for number 1. So Trevor Lawrence is realistic. And then when the Lawrence discussion started happening more frequently, it was always like, all right, well, the next point is you have to flip Sam Darnold for a draft pick. And I never thought they were going to get a 1. I know the Eagles got a 1 for Sam, not to bring up the Eagles again, but I know the Eagles got a 1 for Sam Bradford. I think that was like an outlier because it was such a desperate situation because that was right after the Teddy Bridgewater injury. The Vikings believed they were on the cusp of a Super Bowl contention, and they saw Sam Bradford as a guy that could come in, steady the ship, and be a quarterback that doesn't make the mistakes and could still get them to the playoffs in a Super Bowl. And obviously they were wrong because Bradford was an atrocity. The I think the easier one to compare to is Josh Rosen. The fact the Cardinals gotten a 2 and a 5 from the Dolphins for Josh Rosen a year after he was the first round pick. That was, the Jets can do that too. That was after the Sam Darnold struggling because the Jets failed him. Some team will take a chance on him. A 2 and a 5, absolutely. Worst case, conditional 3 and a 4, something like that. When you look at what Sam's done this year, though, throughout his 9 starts, 0-9 as a starter, a 58.4 completion percentage, just 1,500 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Like, that's not, he's averaging 5.8 yards an attempt. Like, that's really bad. Like, I don't know why a team would give up a 2 and a 5 for that. And the more he plays, the worse he gets. Like, he's not getting better as this season gets on. As we've mentioned, he's getting significantly worse. Like, he looked better in the opener. He looked better against the 49ers. He looked better at all of these other points than what he has these last 3 or 4 weeks. That if you're the Broncos, why are you giving up a 2 and a 5 for him? If you're the Colts, why are you giving up a 2 and a 5? If you're the Steelers, why are you giving up? I could see like a 3 alone, maybe like a 4 and a 6. But like, as he plays more, it's going down, which is why you bring up like the belief of, you know what, maybe it does make a lot more sense to just bench him so that it doesn't get any worse. But at the same time, the Jets aren't going to do that. Like Adam made the comment when we asked him about the concept of benching Sam 1-2 weeks ago. Basically, there's no shot in hell that they need to see this guy in the field. They need to see this guy play. They need to get him in there. So it makes sense. But you're right. It's not making anything better. The more Sam plays, the worse he looks, the more that trade value drops. Because in order for the Jets to get a 2 and a 5 for Sam, they need to have somebody offering a 2 and a 5. And in order for a team to offer a 2 and a 5, you got to have somebody that's offering a 3, because you're going to want to bid for him and you want to up that value, and you want to get it to the point where I've got to offer a 2 and a 5. Otherwise, I'm not going to get him because this team's offering a 3. You can go all the way down the line of like, well, I'm not offering a 2. Well, I'm not offering a 3. Okay, maybe I'll give him a 4. And then that can maybe start moving the thing up. But it was a 2 and 5, obviously, a couple months ago. I think you're probably looking at now a 3, maybe a 3 and a 5. And it's like when you look at Sam now, when you assess Sam now and you break down Sam's play, it's almost like there's so much now that you have to fix. It's not like there's so much to work with. You know what I mean? Like, oh, look at his playmaking ability. Look at his escapability. You look at Sam now and suddenly you see a quarterback that needs a complete overhaul mentally and physically. I mean, his footwork is a disaster. His decision-making is egregious. His pocket presence is non-existent. I mean, all of this is a shot. And this is all another thing that another team and another offensive coordinator, another quarterback coach has to fix. And it's a lot of work. And it's a lot of work to say, like, I got to invest a 2nd and a 5. And maybe this is like me watching far too much Shark Tank and thinking about like, oh, I'm making this offer, but I'm going to make you, I want 20% of your company because now I need to like actually do all this work and make all these changes, blah, blah, blah. But that's kind of similar to what this is going to be for the Jets. The Jets can say, we want a 2 and a 5 because we believe you can make a Sam a franchise quarterback. But another team is going to be like, yeah, I can make Sam a franchise quarterback. So it take a effing lot of work. And it's like, you know what I mean? So you're not wrong. The more he plays, the worse he looks, and it's not going to get any better this week against the Rams. That trade value just keeps going down, down, down.
All right, we have a lot more to get to, but first, a message from Draftkings. It feels like just yesterday that Los Angeles was lifting basketball's most coveted prize. Since then, we have introduced a new class of professional basketball players through the draft and seen a few marquee names switch teams. Luckily for us sports fans, DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is here to kick off the 2021 basketball season with a no-brainer for all customers, new and existing. If you haven't tried DraftKings Sportsbook yet, head over to the App Store now because you don't want to miss this. To celebrate the return of basketball, DraftKings Sportsbook is giving you a plus 75-point spread on the team of your choice on opening night. That's right. All you have to do is bet on any opening night game. And if your team doesn't lose by more than 75 points, you will double your money. This Saturday, there will be an endless amount of action to get in on. So don't wait. Head to the app now. DraftKings is safe, reliable, and secure, making it easy for you to deposit and withdraw your money at your convenience. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code QUICK when you sign up to get a plus 75-point spread on opening night for a shot at double your money. That's code QUICK to get a shot at doubling your money on opening night for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, New Jersey only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
It can be awkward or embarrassing to talk about erectile dysfunction. Usually people brush it off or blame themselves, but Roman is here to get you the advice you want and the help that you need with no shame. With Roman, you can get a free online evaluation and ongoing care for ED, all from the comfort and privacy of your home. A healthcare professional will work with you to find the best treatment plan. If medication is appropriate, Roman will ship you real medicine with free 2-day shipping. The whole process is straightforward, simple, and discreet. Getting started, also simple. Just go to getroman.com/wait and complete an online visit. Erectile dysfunction used to be tough to talk about, but now there's Roman. Complete an online visit today to connect with your doctor and take care of it. Just go to getroman.com/wait to get $15 off your first order of ED treatment, a free online visit, and free 2-day shipping. That's getroman.com/wait for $15 off that first order. Getroman.com/wait. All right, we focused a lot on the offense. Let's talk about the defense. And it was a defense without Greg Williams. And we kind of predicted how that might go. And it was pretty much as predicted. They weren't as interesting, I guess. It was a more scaled back defense. They didn't take as many chances. There was always the possibility maybe that would be helpful, but it certainly wasn't, because with that came an uninspired effort from this defensive unit. It was bad from the start. That first Seattle drive, Russell Wilson just picking apart the defense like they weren't even there. It was almost like a 7-on-7 drill. It felt like they go down the field, they run it easily against a run defense that's been probably the best part of this Jets team this season, has been the run defense, and didn't do anything. 142 yards on 27 carries for Carson and Hyde. Conor, I mentioned it. This is kind of what we thought was going to happen with Greg Williams gone, and it certainly did. The defense was bad.
Yeah, and I mean there was something to play here, not just about no Greg Williams, but I mean this was David Goliath, varsity JV, A team, B team, talent, no talent. I mean there was a legitimate, serious talent discrepancy between the Seattle Seahawks offense, Russell Wilson, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, DK Metcalf, one of the best receivers, Chris Carson, probably a top 10 running back and a good offensive line. And then obviously you throw in Tyler Lockett and all this stuff. I mean, when the Jets are trotting out Bryce Huff as their best pass rusher, Quinnen Williams is a good player, but opposite him, you got Henry Anderson and Foley Fatukasi, and their secondary is still manned by Bless Austin and then Bryce Hall and Javelin Guidry, and their secondary or their safety position opposite Marcus Maye is Matthias Farley, a guy who really shouldn't be playing anything other than special teams. I mean, you knew it was going to be ugly, but I do believe we talked about this on Thursday, and I think what we stressed quite a bit what we stressed quite a bit was that with Greg, you always got something, you always got some weird wrinkle, some unique look, some funky something or other that confused the opposing offense. It didn't matter if it was Tom Brady out there. It didn't matter if it was Baker Mayfield. It didn't matter if it was a rookie quarterback making his first start. You were always going to get something different and unique from Greg. And was he going to make some ridiculous play calls because his arrogance got in the way? Absolutely. Was his team always going to toe the line between tough and physical and overly aggressive, which leads to penalties? Absolutely, because they embodied his personality. But you would take the good with the bad because you knew you were still going to get that confusion and the team was still going to play hard, and they were very rarely going to be blown out from first snap to the last. But they eventually get worn down, and then they give up plays, but they were always going to have a stretch of really competitive game from that defense. I don't know if this Sunday was a hangover from that just demoralizing defeat to the Raiders. There was definitely, I think, something to do with that. I mean, even Adam Gase and Marcus Maye, all these guys talked on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday about how, this one's a little harder to get over. This one felt different. We know it was there. I mean, there was definitely some hangover. I'm sure going east to west coast on Friday didn't help things, but not having Greg on the sideline, I do think took an emotional toll. I mean, he wasn't beloved by every defensive player, but the defensive line did love him. And the secondary and linebackers didn't. I can tell you that firsthand. They definitely did not. But you got it from the defensive line. And the guys, no matter whether you liked them or didn't, you still always played hard. And I think there was that lack of an edge this week with Frank Bush. And maybe it's Frank Bush's personality. He's a little bit more laid back. He's not as yelly and screamy and all that stuff. He is more reserved. But there was absolutely some impact not having Greg there, because the Jets just didn't have the same fight. They didn't have the same intensity. They didn't have the same swagger that they always do. And I know you saw it a little bit at the end of the game with Frankie Louvu kind of screaming and yelling, but the score was 37-3. You saw it with Bless Austin when he freaking stuck his tongue out.
We should get into the Bless Austin nonsense too.
Yeah, we'll get, yeah. And like you saw a little bit of the fight, but still, I mean, the one thing that this Jets defense has done remarkably well over the last 2 years, and it was whether they stunk or whether they were good. Their good games, their bad games, they always stopped the run. They never, ever, ever were gashed up the middle. You always knew that if they were going to get beat, it was going to be over the top with quick passes or by taking the top off the defense. They were never going to get beat on the ground. Chris Carson went 12 for 76 and a touchdown. There were times he was running through holes that the three of us could have linked arms and skipped through. Carlos Hyde, 15 for 66. He had an 18-yard rush too. I mean, that's not the Jets defense we've seen the last 2 years. And when they're doing things like that, when guys are that out of position, when guys are just getting bulldozed by Carson and Hyde and out physicaled up front, I think that is a little bit of not having Greg on the sideline. And we kind of foresaw it coming, and it happened. It did. It really did happen. That it was, this defense was beat up. This defense was bad. And it was, I think they missed Greg Williams. It was the right move to move on from Greg Williams, but you knew this week and probably next week against the Rams, there's going to be some struggles that maybe wouldn't have been there with Greg on the sideline.
NFL Next Gen had a number that Frank Bush, being conservative, 23 four-man rushes in the 32 dropbacks for Russell Wilson. And Wilson he had all day at some times. The first touchdown pass when he just kind of slightly rolled to his right and found the receiver wide open. There was also receivers running wide open all over the field at different times in this game. It was just ugly. You mentioned Bless Austin. The last thing you want to see when your team is on their way, minutes away from being 0-13, and the backup quarterback is in, not just any backup quarterback, but it's Geno Smith is the backup quarter for Seattle. He's in there running the offense. They're clearly just trying to make sure nobody gets hurt and get out of there. And then Bless Austin is chirping, he takes his helmet off, sticks his tongue out. I mean, I just don't understand where it comes from, Conor, how you could have that mindset at that point in a game in a season like this. I mean, who's he trying to impress?
I know his agent got on my ass a little bit on Twitter because I tweeted about it. He goes, you can't fight a guy for showing intensity and heart. It wasn't
intensity. It was stupidity.
Yeah, that's basically. I mean, it was, I like, that's the one thing that just drives me nuts with play. Like, I love when guys score and there's intense, they're screaming and yelling. I love when there's a sack and they're screaming and yelling, a pass breakup, a big defensive stop behind the line. What just drives me nuts is when, like, guys on the offense gain yards or they're moving the ball down the field at will, and you finally make a stop and you're like screaming and yelling and you're like, yeah, let's go. And you're like, that just drives me, especially in like I hate when that happens in general, but when you're down at the time 37-3 and like literally the entire Seahawks backup team is in, no starting receivers, no starting running backs. Carlos Hyde worked in a little bit like at 10 to relieve DJ Dallas, but everyone, Geno Smith is out there, and you've got, you're chirping like that. And then the chirping leads to a foul, which almost leads to another touchdown, which Geno Smith wanted a touchdown against the Jets. It was like, you just can't do that. It was bad. It was ridiculous, but it was, I think, just a team coming apart at the seams. It was a team that just, it's so ugly and it's so nasty and it's so not good right now that it's like they're just trying to grasp anything. When you get punched in the mouth, and then eventually you come back and you got to start swinging and throwing haymakers. And I think that's what it was. And it was a bad look, especially when he's taking off his helmet, chirping to the opposing sideline and sticking his tongue out. Like, are you sticking your tongue out at Russell Wilson on the side? Like, look at me. I guess I can stop Geno, but not you. You want to come out and get some of this? I mean, Russell would have come in there and throw 3 more touchdowns. Like, it was ridiculous. And you actually mentioned like Russell's first touchdown and second and all that stuff. My favorite was actually the 4th, because that's the one where he's got it. Like, he has all time in the pocket. Finally, someone skirts through, but like, I forget, it might've been Foley. I don't know, but they're like basically holding Russell's foot. And then Russell just like standing there with the guy on his foot, just flings it to a wide open receiver in the back of the end zone for a touchdown for the 4th. I mean, that was like, you're not even sniffing him. I think the Jets had 2 quarterback hits all day. And I think Foley got 1 on Geno. So it was like, it was just, Quinnen Williams was invisible. The Seahawks shut him down real easy. And it was just, it's sad. It's sad. Not great.
Quinnen Williams, that's interesting. I wonder how much of that was it a direct and I'm sure it'll pass, but like immediate week after factor with Greg Williams, right? The fact that the week after Greg Williams is gone, Quinnen Williams, who clearly had a breakout season this year under Greg Williams, he has that kind of effort. I wonder how connected those two things are.
Yeah, he liked him. I mean, you saw because he tweeted like the weird emoji or whatever like that after the when Greg first got fired, which he then deleted the tweet because like, What are you doing? But yeah, I mean, I think there was, I don't know if he was that. I think the Seahawks just, what you're going to start seeing now with Quinnen is that teams are going to make like, okay, so how do we beat the Jets defense? Well, virtually the only player on that team that's going to do anything, like make a difference. Like, you're going to have Neville's going to fly around and make tackles, and he's always going to be around the ball. But the only guy that's really going to make a difference and be a game-changing force is Quinnen. Quinnen's the guy that he'll wreck a game. He'll make your quarterback's life hell. So what teams are going to do now is they're going to spend a full week with somebody on the other side of the field and scout team with a 95 jersey on, trying to figure out, okay, this is what Quinnen does, and this is how we have to stop him, because they know that the key to moving the ball against the Jets is you take 95 out of the game and then make somebody else beat you. And I think you saw the Seahawks put that initial game plan out there to be like, okay, this is how you stop Quinnen. And you look at him, I mean, he did finish with 6 combined tackles, but no quarterback hits, no tackles for a loss, no quarterback hurries. That's what made him so dominant the last month or so, was that he was disrupting the passer and not just making tackles, but getting into the backfield and attacking these guys. The key now is going to be, can Quinnen take this stuff, like take now the Seahawks put together an initial game plan to slow him down. It clearly worked because he was slowed down. Can Quinnen counter that? And can Quinnen now do something different that now makes an offense think? And that's when you get to the chess match where you do something, I do something, you do something, I counter, you do something, I counter. The good players like Aaron Donald keep countering and keep countering and keep countering, and you can never figure them out because they're always doing something different and they're just physical freaks. If Quinnen wants to get to that point, he can't be deterred by this. And I don't think he will. I think he'll go to the drawing board and he'll try to piece this together.
We mentioned Geno Smith. This was a game that was kind of a haunt of Jets failures of the past as far as front office and players. The number of players that are now on Seattle, or you could even go to Pete Carroll if you wanted to. I mean, that's obviously
right?
Going
true.
way back, and long before Pete had the illustrious career that he did at USC and all of that. But so many guys on that field with Jets connections. But the one that probably stood out the most, I mean, Jamal Adams obviously got the most hype because of the trade and all of that. But as far as the game itself, the thing that stood out the most, I would say, Conor, is probably the kicking, right? Because Sergio Castillo misses 3 field goals. Meanwhile, Jason Myers, who did miss an extra point, but he was 2 for 2 on field goals, and he's 18 of 18 this season when the Jets had him and could have easily kept him and just decided not to.
Yeah, and I know I've talked to Mike about it, McCagnon. I've talked to Brant Boyer about this at like the combine and stuff like that. Their concern with Myers and the reason Boyer was like, I need him back. Like, Boyer loves his guys, so Boyer never wanted Myers gone. He never wanted Andre Roberts gone. He wanted the Jets to re-sign those two. McCagnon's issue with Roberts, who's having a hell of a career again with the Bills. I'm pretty sure he made the Pro Bowl last year. His issue was like, okay, he's going to be 30 and the Jets had just drafted Trenton Cannon. So they'd be like, well, we believe Cannon's going to be our kick returner and we can develop him into a punt returner. We don't want Andre Roberts, who's going to be 31. So they let him go. With Myers, they were concerned he was a one-hit wonder, that they were like, okay, he didn't have a great tenure with the Jaguars. We claimed him off the waiver wire because I think that's when they had Cairo Santos, who like injured himself in training camp and didn't kick at all. Like that was what Todd was like, no, he's fine. He's kicking indoors. Meanwhile, he has like his leg falling off and he doesn't kick at all. They got lucky with Myers getting free. They claim Myers and he ends up having this. Where the hell did this season come from? They were worried that he was just going to revert, that they were going to pay him and he would go back to what he was with the Jaguars for 3 years and not what he was for the Jets for 1. Obviously, like the vast majority of all of Maccagnan's moves, it was the wrong call. It was not the right decision to make because Myers has gone on to Seattle and what he missed, like 3 field goals last year, I think it was. I'm trying to look. I had it written down. I think he missed like 3 field goals last year. He's 18 of 18. Myers since the Jets, the crazy thing is like since the Jets let Myers go, their kickers, which were Vedvik, who was obviously the guy they had for a week who cost them the victory over the Bills, which would have been the Jets' 8th win last season. Between Vedvik, Sam Ficken, and then Sergio Castillo, the Jets kickers have missed 11 field goals over the last, 16 plus 13 games. So whatever that is, 29 games. They've missed 11 field goals. Myers has missed 5 and none this season. He's got the longest streak of consecutive makes stretching between last year and this year. I mean, the guy's a stud, and it's a shame the Jets let him go because he was there. But you go up the list. I mean, there's other ones too. You saw Snacks Harrison. Damon Harrison, I forgot he was with the Seahawks. He actually had a good game, 6 tackles, a forced fumble. Brandon Shell is the Seahawks starting right tackle. I was talking to somebody over there in Seattle. They said they're ridiculously, like they're remarkably impressed and happy with Shell. Like he's come in, become their right tackle, and is like the guy. Like he's really good on the right side. They're having no issues with him at all. It's amazing. They don't just have ex-Jets that are like, all right, we signed Geno to be our backup. Like it's like, all right, whatever. They have ex-Jets that are starting and playing. Damon Harrison, who was supposed to retire, having big impact. Brandon Shell starting. I mean, it's crazy. It really is. I mean, I guess the Jets have some guys that can play. I mean, I guess Maccagnan technically got Brandon Shell right, even though the Jets let him walk.
We got some questions to get to, both from the chat and also from Twitter. But before that, this episode brought to you by 1010. Now you may have read about this in the New York Times or Forbes, and we're excited to tell you about it. 1010 is an exclusive collection of 10 one-of-a-kind engagement rings designed by 10 of the most distinctive designers working today, using only diamonds responsibly sourced from Botswana. 10 design masters have each produced a uniquely beautiful commitment ring, launching exclusively on January 18th at BlueNile.com. And when they're gone, they're gone. We all know that the diamond engagement ring is iconic. It's a timeless expression of the deepest commitment between two people. And with 1010s, it's been beautifully re-envisioned in the hands of 10 modern designers working exclusively with sustainably sourced diamonds. If you're making the 2021 plans or looking for a unique and meaningful way to celebrate Valentine's Day, you're definitely going to want to check this out. Again, this exciting limited edition collection of diamond engagement rings launches on January 18th, and you can preview it exclusively at BlueNile.com. 1 year late for you, Conor, on that one.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, are we getting does this athletic promo give people like percentage off at Blue Nile or something like that? I was like, I just bought a freaking engagement ring a year ago. Where the hell was this? Like, where the hell was this?
It's all about the time.
This is for the wedding band.
I did get one. The funny story, like when I got Bree's engagement ring, I went to.
Boy, I wish I could have been a fly on the wall watching you pick that out, Conor.
I was good because I like my uncle. My uncle is very like bougie with all of his. Actually, I always forget that bougie is like a negative term. Like he's like real fancy and ritzy, so like he knows his stuff when it comes to it. So when I was going, I like obviously.
Was it the 4 C's? Something about
so
that.
Cut, clarity, all that,
clarity.
that mumbo. This was a year ago, so I've already forgotten it, but I should probably remember because I know I'm gonna have to get earrings at some point and all that. But I remember talking to like my uncle who like gave me the lowdown. Like he was like, "You're gonna want this." He goes, "One thing, make sure that when you look at when they shows you the diamond, make sure they show you it under a microscope so you can see where all of the imperfections are." He goes, "You have to look at the diamond on manila paper, not black, because if you look at it on black velvet, everything looks perfect." He goes, "Then you put it on manila and it's like whatever." So I was like, all right, sweet. So then between him and my other uncle who had a jeweler that he's been going to for years, I didn't want to do the whole like Blue Nile thing because I wanted to like talk to the guy and see it and have him like, I wanted to go that route. So I remember I walked into this jeweler in Hillsborough, which is where my one uncle lives, and like Bree and I actually went to a jeweler, the two of us, so she could figure out what kind of ring she wanted, and then I could like go and actually pick the diamond and all that stuff. We went to one that another person recommended to me. Absolutely hated him. Like, it was like sketchy. He tried to he showed her like a 2-carat ring, but it was yellow, and like a yellow ring. And I was like, this looks, and he's like, I'll give it to you for 7. I was like, it's yellow. I don't want it for 2. Like, it's a yellow, that's like, but like, I'm not saying like a little, like, it was a yellow diamond. It looked like pee. I was like, I don't want this. Like, this is really, I was like, we're definitely not going back here. This is terrible. Like, I'm not like going crazy. This is weird. So I ended up going to this guy in Hillsborough, and I walk in and like, I'm talking to him, and like, as we're talking, he keeps giving me looks, and I'm like, this is a little weird. Like, but whatever. Like, he's a jeweler guy. Maybe this is the thing. After like, I'm talking to him for an hour. He's telling me about how this is it. This is this. This is that. That is that. Blah, blah, blah. He goes, he looks at me and he goes, are you last name Hughes? I was like, yeah. I just said I'm Conor. I didn't like say Conor Hughes. I was like, yeah. He goes, you write about the Jets, don't you? I was like, no freaking way. He goes, I'm a diehard Jets fan. I've had season tickets for whatever. And I was like, oh my God, here we go. So like, now it's funny because I'll still get texts from him. I get texts from like the jeweler, and he'll be like, hey, what'd you think about this? What'd you think about that? So now I'm like, oh man, that's what happens when you go up into North Jersey. You run into Jet fans.
You're just so popular, Conor.
I am. I'm kind of pops. Yeah, it makes up for the years that I was not popular in high school. So it's like
when you were wearing your capris.
Yeah, I was supposed to have my 10-year this year, but 10-year reunion for high school, but unfortunately it was canceled because of COVID. So when we have our 11-year 10-year next year, 12-year 10-year, whenever this damn thing's over and the vaccine's out, I'm gonna kick in the door and be like, "What's up? What's up? Who wants to make fun of me now?" We're gonna do one of them.
They're gonna be like the Jets are 0-16.
Yeah, dude, you cover the Jets. You're still covering Burlington County, man.
All right, let's get to some questions. I think this one's pretty, well, maybe not obvious, but I think it's worth asking. This one from Andrew. This Jets team is the worst team ever, right? Worse than the Lions when they were 0-16. We could throw the Browns in the discussion too.
And we're gonna have Zach Jackson on probably next week. And
yes, we're gonna break it down that, and get perspective.
Who's the worst 0-16? Because that's a interesting conversation.
What do you think, Conor?
Yeah, I think they're the worst. I can't comment too much on the Lions because what year was that again? You say?
Oh,
you remember? I was pretty young.
06?
Yeah, so that was like when I was in.
Let me see.
I graduated
2008. 2008.
Okay, so I was in high school until I was a sophomore. So I mean, I wasn't watching too much Lions football when they went 0-16 that year, but. I'm not mistaken. I thought they had like Calvin Johnson that season, and they had some injuries where Stafford went down. So they had Orlovsky have to play, and I think Kitten ended up getting hurt. So that team had some talent. I would think that I'd have to go back and look at the roster, but off the top of my head, I would think someone in the comment section says 2008. Also, someone says that story did not happen. This guy, JD, like I swear to freaking God it happened. Like I didn't make that jeweler story up. I'll show you the damn text messages. Like screw these people. You're getting blocked. Block them. Blocktober again. We're going. It's December, so block Ember.
This is the holiday season, Conor.
Blocked.
Feeling nicer.
Out. No soup for you. You're out. But no, like I don't remember too much about that team, so I'd actually have to go back and look at it. But I don't. I think the Browns would beat them. I mean, that Browns team played some competitive games. That Brown team had some talent. They just had a quarterback issue. That's why I think they had like RG3 starting at one point and all that stuff. So. They still had some decent coaching staff. That'd be Greg Williams. Greg Williams was that team's defensive coordinator. I'm sure he would give Sam Darnold fits. Hugh Jackson had his moments where he would design some good things. I think he was just a little bit of a pushover, which caused problems. But I think the Jets would be the worst 0-16 team, and I don't think it would be all that close.
The Lions did have Calvin Johnson. I think he got banged up. But listen to this quarterback. They have
Roy Williams then too. That means Roy Williams.
Yeah, how about
Calvin
this
Johnson,
quarterback?
Mike Williams too.
Yes. A receiver? No.
Maybe got hurt.
Yeah,
he was probably hurt.
How about this quarterback depth chart on that 08 Lions team? Dante Culpepper, Drew Henson, Dan Orlovsky, who has moved on, obviously, to ESPN and the media, and then Drew Stanton. So a couple of Drews, Dante Culpepper. I don't know how that broke down exactly.
I'll text Dan. It's
a lot of names as far, in a bad year, a lot of known names at quarterback.
You guys want to talk? Maybe we can get Dan on the podcast for Thursday. I'll text him. I'll see if he's free. Like we'll talk about like Giant, that Lions team.
He has thoughts on Sam Darnold too. So that'd be really good.
You want to get to our next question?
Yes.
We're planning the next show already. Go ahead, Marissa.
Conor likes to, give a look behind the curtain a lot. So this is how we plan for our episodes. But all right, this one's from Nolan Rich. Any signs that the Jets have begun looking into locking up Marcus Maye long term? He is a great building block and a leader that they need to keep.
I haven't heard anything yet, but that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. That doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It's just, it's something I would absolutely prioritize. It would be something that I would say, like, this is what they've got to do, because the thing about Marcus is like, you don't compare him to Jamal. When Greg Williams asked him to play the Jamal role, like he did earlier in the season, it was so silly. Like, cause it's not the player he is, but he's the guy that you want in the locker room. He's the type of player that you don't like. If the Jets let go of Marcus Maye, they're going to want to go find another Marcus Maye, because he's a top tier center fielder. I mean, he is so good in deep zone coverage and making sure nothing gets behind him. He is a guy that people gravitate towards, not because he tells people to gravitate towards him, because they do it naturally. Because that was the difference between Jamal and Marcus, is that Jamal said, I'm the leader. Jamal said, I'm the captain. Jamal said, everyone needs to look towards me. Jamal said, look at me, look at the way I do things. Marcus didn't. He never said any of those things. He never did any of those things to draw people off. What he literally would just go about his business, do his business, and people would see the way he acts, see the way he treats people, see the way he performs in practice and gets himself ready, and then the way he plays. And they're like, well, I want to do that, so I'm going to follow. They naturally gravitated towards him. And he's a great guy in the locker room. He's so well respected, and he's a good football player. Like, it's not like I'm saying, oh, pay this guy, like, give this guy money just because he's a good leader. He's a good football player too. So I would assume that right after this season, the Jets are going to do everything they can to make sure he doesn't hit free agency, because he's a guy you want to build around. Now, if Marcus comes out and it's like, I want $15 million a year, or I want $13 million a year, or I want $14 million a year, or pay me all this money, well, then that's when the two sides go different ways. But if they can come to terms on a reasonable contract, if they can come to terms on something that works for both sides, it needs to be a priority to get him back. He needs to be back, because he's a guy you can build around.
That makes sense. There was some news this morning. This isn't officially a question, but we should talk about it a little bit, because we had mentioned Bill Cowher last week, and the rumors bumping around from Boomer that he might be interested in coming back to head coach. And then that, obviously, you look at the teams that are available, and some Jets fans, I think, thought of it as a positive, as a guy that's a proven winner, although a long time ago, and others, would rather go with the younger, more inspired choice than the guy that's long gone. But he spoke this morning, according to ESPN, Bill Cowher, saying that he has zero interest in returning to coaching, which I think makes a lot more sense than the other rumors last week, right? I mean, he's got a pretty good cushy setup right now.
Yeah. And we talked about this last week. I mean, give Rich Cimini credit. He got Cowher on the phone and just straight up asked him, like, hey, you interested in coaching? He said no. Now, he did couch it a little bit by saying, I will never talk about a job that is owned by somebody else. So it's like a coaching rule thing.
Right.
But I just don't think it's where the Jets want. I know they want like the guy who's done it before. I know they want a guy who's had success. I know they want the culture builder and the guy who can captivate guys. But whenever you have a coach that's been out of the league for so long, and you have a coach that's already won a Super Bowl with one team, because if I'm not mistaken, in NFL history, no one has ever won a Super Bowl and then won another Super Bowl with somebody else. Like, they've never won a Super Bowl at two different spots after winning it the first time, if I'm not mistaken. And a lot of it's like, you wonder if they lose some hunger or they lose some juice, where it's like you won one and then you want to go win another one. Like, guys have gone, like, who's the old Seahawks coach? Holmgren. Like, Holmgren won one with the Packers, and then he went back with the Seahawks, but he didn't win it again. So guys haven't won it in one stop and won it in the next one. He's just one I would stay away from personally. I just go, you want the culture builder like him. You want the head coach personality like him. I just don't know if a guy that's been out of the league for so long is the right direction to go. I would stay away from that.
One more, Marissa?
Yeah, so someone brought this up earlier in the chat, and I can't find who exactly wrote it, so I apologize for not reading their name. But they wrote, let's not forget about Tannehill, who looked like garbage, and then look at him now. Is the Gase effect a real thing? And if Sam Darnold does leave...
I give Gase credit.
Let's hear it, Conor.
No, this isn't crazy. This isn't a rant. This ain't like Conor rant worthy. But like, I do give Gase some leeway with the Tannehill thing, because the 1 year that Gase and Tannehill worked together completely, they went to the playoffs. Like they went to the playoffs, and Tannehill, I think, got hurt before the playoff game. I don't think he played in the playoff game, but they went to the playoffs with Tannehill under center. And I can look up his numbers, or Tim, while I'm talking, if you can look up what Tannehill did that 1 year that he had Gase with. Yep. He looked decent. Like, it wasn't world beater, but it was also still kind of early in his career, and he was just coming off of whoever that Packers offensive coordinator was, that was the Dolphins head coach when he had Tannehill the first year, like whoever that was. But they, like, when they cut Chad Johnson and they were on Hard Knocks, I forget the guy's name. Philbin? I think it might have been Joe Philbin. Whenever, like, he kind of got a good year out of Tannehill. And then over the next 2 years that they worked together, Tannehill was never on the field. He was hurt all the time. He was dealing with knee issues. He tore his ACL. He was dealing with this. He was dealing with that. So we never really got a healthy Tannehill. The first time we've seen a healthy Tannehill was when Tannehill went off to the Titans. And I know Gase, I've talked to Gase about it. He never gave up on Tannehill. He always believed Tannehill could play. He just need to stay healthy. And the 1 year that he and Tannehill were both healthy, Tannehill took him to the playoffs. So I don't put that on. I think that's a lazy like Gase escape. I think that's a lazy one to say. If you want to go with Gesicki, if you want to go with Devontae Parker, if you want to go with Kenyon Drake, like all those guys, I think those are more realistic. He escaped the Gase curse than Tannehill, because when Tannehill had a full season with Gase, they went to the playoffs and they won 10 games. And I know they ran on the ground with Jay Ajayi the majority of the way there. That's when Jay Ajayi ran for like 200 yards in 2 or 3 straight games, whatever, something absurd like that. But still, I mean, they were a successful team with Tannehill and Gase pairing that first year, and then injuries just took their toll.
Yeah, 2016, Tannehill played 13 games that year, which was the most he played with Gase there. He was 8-5. You mentioned that they won 10 games as a team, 67.1% completions. He had 19 touchdowns, 12 picks, so that's not great. But you mentioned the running game, averaged 230 yards per game. So he was a serviceable quarterback, certainly, who got his team to the playoffs and didn't really do too much harm to them that year. He's progressed since then. But quarterbacks do get better the longer they're in the league. So yeah. I agree with you there. But I think it is interesting to think that, like, does Darnold get them more in return because of Gase? Is that even something that could be considered real? That some executive is out there and like, you know what? Give them a second rounder because I know he's better than that, because Adam Gase is the reason he's been so bad.
They won't just come out and give them. The Jets are going to have their
right?
Yeah, the Jets are going to have their asking price, which is probably going to start at like 1. And then it's going to go down from there. And then it's just a matter of like, who's going to like this. Now, this is the difference between Jamal's trade and Quinnen's trade rumors and Sam. With Jamal, it was, we want to keep him. You need to convince us not to. So if you didn't give the Jets the offer they wanted, Jamal was still going to be on this team. The Jets didn't not answer the phone on Quinnen Williams after like last season at the draft and at the trade deadline this year, but you needed to blow them away with an offer for them to give him up. Like, that's what they got from Jamal. They got 2 first-round picks, a third, and you got Bradley McDougald, a player that they actually really did covet. So you got a bounty for Jamal Adams. That's why they traded Jamal Adams. If the Seahawks didn't make that offer, Jamal Adams was still going to be a Jet this season. That similar offer of what they got for Jamal, they never got for Quinnen, so Quinnen is still a Jet. That's not the case with Sam. The Jets are going to trade Sam Darnold this offseason, so now it becomes, okay, who's going to make me the best offer? And if the Jets make him, or if somebody offers them a 4 as the best offer, they're going to take a 4. If the best offer is a 3, they're going to take a 3. If they have multiple teams that all make an offer, they will go to them and say, like, we've got a 4, you're going to have to do better, and that's when it can drive it up. As far as getting I really don't think they're getting a 1. I find it hard to see any team giving up a 2. Even the Steelers or Colts, teams are going to be picking lower in the first round. I find it very hard to see either of those teams giving up a 2. I think the more likely option is they get like a 3 and a 5 for Sam, maybe just a 3.
All right. That makes a lot of sense. All right. That's going to do it for this episode. As you heard, we have big things in store, maybe for later in the week.
Yeah, I shot Dan a text. He should get back to me. He's usually really
Not
good.
confirmed yet, but the request is out. So maybe a guest coming up later in the week. We were also talking about maybe doing the Jets holiday wish list. We'll see if that comes to fruition as well. We'll have more details as we get closer to later in the week. That's coming up on Thursday, though. That's going to do it for this edition. We're not going to give you our Venmos. Instead, we're going to go with Twitter. Connor's at Connor_J_Hughes. I'm at Tim M. McMaster. Marissa's at Marissa_Morris.
There's also my Venmo, though.
Well, there you go. Please don't send Conor money. Please don't send Conor money. You can also get a great deal if you haven't already subscribed to The Athletic. Go to theathletic.com/the Can't Wait podcast. Right now, it's gift a subscription, get a subscription now through the holidays. Just buy a subscription for somebody on that wish list. It's a great gift for anyone. And when you do that, you get a subscription for yourself for free. So basically 2 for 1 for the holidays. Check it out. Theathletic.com/the Can't Wait podcast. Have a great day, everyone.